Welcome to Fundamentals of Chemistry. My name is Amy Lumley. I'm going to be your instructor for this course. What this is just to give you an idea of what's going to be included in this course and a little bit on how we're going to set up this course. So what types of things are you going to be responsible for? So the first thing is, well, how do I get a hold of the teacher if I have questions? Um, The easiest way to get a hold of me is actually by email. If you did need to find me on campus, I'm actually inside the chemistry lab. My office is room 202B in the Arts and Science building, but it depends on the time of year if I'm in my office very much. There's my phone number, 251-7700. My extension is 7031. But like I said, the easiest way to get a hold of me is just to email me, amyl@coffeyville.edu. Now, I do have another little thing at the bottom, and this is another way we can communicate with each other. I have this service called Remind, and what Remind does is I can set out a text message to the entire class at once. So in case I change a due date, or I forgot to tell you something in class, or to remind you about an upcoming date, whatever the case might be, I have this opportunity. So I would love for you to sign up for this service. It is free. You just text and you have to use the at sign, at FunChemOL, to 81010. So 81010 is a short code. So sometimes certain phones or certain carriers have problems with the short text. In case yours does, I've given you the long phone number right behind it. So just text that phrase, at FunChemOL, all one word, include the at sign, to that number, and it will ask for confirmation. And what I'll do throughout the semester is I will send you out some notices. You can actually respond to me through text, or you can get the app on your phone, which is actually pretty useful. So what do you need for this wonderful class, this wonderful fun class? We're going to put the fun in chemistry. You need the text. The text is very, very useful, especially if you are in an accelerated semester. I do go closely with the text. So I use a text called Visualizing Everyday Chemistry. It's a pretty easy read, and I like this text in that it gives you a lot of real life examples on how chemistry is used. You need a calculator. This calculator, you need to have a 10 to the X button. You can't use your phone for all of it. I want an actual calculator. It doesn't have to be an expensive one. The little $10, $15 ones at Walmart work great. Just make sure it has that 10 to the X button. And I always say bring to class and learn to use. So even though we might not actually be sitting in a physical classroom, you still need to bring it whenever you're studying, to have it available. I have lecture videos for you. Make sure that you know how to use your particular version. That way you'll be ready to be able to use it on the test. And then patience and perseverance. So some of you have had lots of chemistry before. Some of you, this is your first experience. There are some topics that will be a lot of review. There will be some topics that are going to be brand new for everybody. There's going to be some topics where you can relate what you see in your everyday life to the chemistry behind it, which just fascinates me. For those of you that have had certain parts of the class before that were covered in other classes, use this as a time to be able to deepen your understanding and to be able to learn just a little more than what you knew before. We talk about, on Shrek, they talk about onions having layers and how people have layers. Well, knowledge has layers. And so what we want to do is we want to add a few layers or peel back layers or whatever you do with the layers. We're going to add some knowledge to your knowledge base there. So what types of things will we be going over? Well, like I said, we've got the basics. So this is going to be what is an atom, what is an element, what's a compound, how do you name compounds, just the basic chemistry that you get in like every single chemistry course. But again, you're going to understand it better than you ever have before, hopefully. You're going to talk about organic chemistry. Now, this class is unique in that we get to cover these other subject matters. So organic chemistry is going to talk about the chemistry of carbon-based compounds. And if you do anything in the medical field or the plastics industry, the petroleum industry, this organic chemistry is going to become very important. We're also going to talk about nuclear chemistry. We're going to talk about some of the reasons why a nuclear power plant is not going to explode like a bomb, or what are some of the concerns of a nuclear power plant. So again, that's something else that I get to cover in this class, but not my traditional Chem 1, Chem 2. We're going to do some math. The math gets along some of the more basics, so we're going to talk about the mole, what it means, how to calculate. We're going to talk about pH and deal with acids and bases. So we have several different areas. And then we get into consumer chemistry. That is the most fun of this entire class. So we're going to talk about the chemistry of your everyday products. So if you grab a pain reliever, if you use shampoo or conditioner, what's the difference between a shampoo and a soap? What about the detergent that you use? We're going to talk about your food, the macronutrients in it, and how to tell the differences between your carbs and proteins and fats. Oh, there's so much you're going to get to learn about that. And that's really what I love about this particular course, that consumer chemistry. You will never look at, hopefully, anything the same way again later. Now, this is not a replacement for Chem 1. This is an intro class. This is sometimes they'll call it a survey class, where we get to talk about all the different areas of chemistry, but we don't necessarily go very in depth. So what this means for you, if you are in a field where you need Chem 2, so if you're going to be a doctor, certain types of engineers, you're still going to have Chem 1. That doesn't mean this is necessarily the not a class for you. It just means that you will still have to take Chem 1. So make sure to look at whatever major you're going to be getting into to see if this class or Chem 1 would be a better starting place for you. I have had students start with this class and go through all the other classes. I like this one because it does give you that consumer chemistry aspect. So if you are going into nursing, or if you are going into journalism, broadcasting, anything where you just need to have that general broad knowledge, this is a really good class. Like I said, a lot of the nursing classes actually prefer this one because you get to talk a little bit about organic chemistry. Another piece of very useful information is how this class is going to be set up. Now, you've gotten to this intro PowerPoint, this intro video, so yay! I'm glad to see that. I'm glad you figured out how to get into the class. For the rest of the class, I've broken it into a couple areas. Well, first are some introductory activities. These are things to help you get ready for the class, to be able to make sure that you've set up the proctoring information, that you have the lab softwares downloaded. You've done the syllabus quiz. The syllabus quiz is very important. Do that first. And just to make sure that you have everything done. This is like a little bit of housekeeping stuff. Well, we take care of the first couple days of class. Then we get into the content area of the class. So that's the lecture portion. Now, I have recorded lectures for most of the chapters. I'm still working on a few. I'm still revising some, but the majority have that information for you. So do be sure to check those out. Those will help you a lot. I've also included PowerPoints that you can fill out as you're watching the videos or as you're reading the book. Now, each chapter is going to have a chapter quiz. This is like a vocab quiz. It's nothing too difficult. It's just to make sure that you're somewhat familiar with the language, because science in certain areas is brand new language to you. You can repeat this chapter quiz as many times as you want. The next thing we have is the chapter test. Now, the chapter test is the content. So it's not just the vocab, it's the understanding of the material. So usually your chapter tests are a lot harder. And you can only take this one once. Sorry, it's the way it goes. And I'm going to do what's called light proctoring on this. I'm interested in what you've learned, what content and what understanding and what relations you can build with your knowledge. I am not interested in what Google can tell you or how well you can use Google. So I have this, what we call light proctoring. It's more or less just a browser lockdown. You can use your notes for the chapter test. Just no Google. Now, at the end of every 2 or 3 chapters, we'll also have a unit test. Now, the unit test is like you would be coming into the classroom and taking a unit test there. So on this unit test, I have what's called strict proctoring. So this one, and don't let that bother you. I promise I'm not trying to be evil to you. But like I said, it's like you're coming into the classroom and taking the test. So it will record audio and video, and there's a browser lockdown, and I think it has you maybe scan the room or something. Again, it's just like you were taking it in the classroom. So that's a little bit about the lecture material. For every chapter, you'll also have some sort of an assignment of related material. It might be, hey, go take a selfie with whatever we're talking about and then give me this information, or write this reflection, or try this out, or watch this, what do you think, or just something to give you a little bit of further information to allow you another chance to look at the material. And then we have labs. Now, the labs that we're going to be using this semester are from a company called Beyond Labs. This is a client that you will install onto your computer. More on that later on that part. You actually will have an assignment where you make sure that it's installed correctly, along with the proctoring software that we're going to be doing. So good luck. For the labs, we are going to, the cool thing about Beyond Labs is that it has these different like lab rooms that you go into, and they look like a normal lab would, and it allows you to pick up these different chemicals and just mix them together, and then it allows you to evaluate them in a bunch of different ways. It shows if you have a test tube with ions, it shows you what ions are in the test tube. It allows you to do flame test. It allows you to do flame test. You can heat it, you can decant it. There's all these different manipulatives that you can do. You can smell what's in there. Now, not in real life, but it'll tell you if there's actually an odor to that test tube. So there's so many of these cool little things that we're going to be able to do. For the labs, I'm going to have a lab worksheet for you for each lab. It'll probably be right underneath where your lab points, where you click to submit. Now that lab handout will be a PDF. If you have a printer, you can print it. If you don't, that's fine. Just read along. You're going to answer the questions either on your printout or on a separate piece of paper. I don't have a printer at home. I would just write it on notebook paper. And then to turn it in, I'm just going to take a picture of it. I have a scanner app on my phone that works really well, so I can hit that. It makes it nice and clear what my words are. And then I'm going to submit that. So that's a little bit on how the class is set up. If you ever have any questions, feel free to email me. I would be happy to answer whatever I can. And enjoy the semester. I hope you gain a much better understanding of chemistry and a love of chemistry. I know I have, especially from some of this material. And go do your syllabus quiz so you can start with the rest of the class. I will see you later.